Hello there friends, welcome back to another episode of Generation Tech. My name is Alan. Star Wars at its roots is the space western, and to survive in such a genre there's nothing more important than how fast you can draw your pistol. And so today we're going to be taking a look at some of the fastest hands in the entire Star Wars galaxy. Now just for a little bit of information for you guys before we start, there's going to be a timer at the bottom of the screen. This is going to count up to 60 frames in 1 second, and we're going to have to do a little bit of math and turn that into a fraction of a second. And just for a bit of real-world reference here, one of the fastest shooters in human history, Bob Munden, was able to draw and shoot at 0.16 seconds, and that's with a single-action revolver, which means the hammer needs to be pulled back before the trigger's pulled. Now, how much accuracy you're gonna get from shooting at your hip like that, not really certain about, but I'm pretty sure none of these Star Wars gunslingers are gonna get even close to that kind of speed. Now, there are a bunch of factors I want you guys to consider when you're watching all of these quick draws, like what kind of holster they're using or the lack of holster they're using, if they're wearing armor or they're just, wearing a tunic, and also take a look at their natural reaction time if they're drawing against another person, and from which position they're going to be firing from, and how long it takes for them to acquire a target. These are all the different elements that are going to really play into how fast each one of these gunslingers can draw their weapon. It's ironic that Obi-Wan Kenobi would be on here. The guy apparently has a horrendous rating from the Galactic NRA for the following comments.
This is the weapon of a Jedi Knight. Not as clumsy or random as a blaster.
But Obi-Wan Kenobi's always been like a practical kind of guy.
Only a Sith deals in absolutes.
Which is actually an absolute as well, but we're not going to get into that. During his exile on Tatooine, Obi-Wan is called by Bail Organa to rescue his adopted daughter Leia. Kenobi accepts this mission, and because stormtroopers are hunting for Jedi, he has to keep a pretty low profile, and so he ends up using a blaster a lot more than his lightsaber. In this scene here, he's trying to prevent a human trafficker from stealing the baby Leia on Daiyu. Long sleeves and robes might help conceal your body's movement when you're doing a lightsaber fight, but it's definitely a hindrance when you're trying to draw a blaster. And as a result, Obi-Wan gets a pretty slow 0.73 second time on the draw. We then see Obi-Wan Kenobi draw again later against a few imps and a probe scout droid. And while the draw here is a lot quicker and better, he pauses before shooting almost for dramatic effect, and this time he clocks in a 0.77. See, even if you're a powerful Jedi, technique and practice matters. I'm sure if Obi-Wan Kenobi worked on it a little bit more, he'd be one of the fastest gunslingers in the galaxy. I keep telling people Han Solo's force sensitive, either that or he just has supernatural reflexes. Remember when Greedo shot first? Well, Han Solo shot just 0.08 seconds after Greedo gets that blaster bolt off. The average human being's reaction time is around 0.25 seconds. This means Han Solo is about 3 times faster than the average human. Definitely makes him supernatural. It's probably also how he was able to time this jump in hyperspace through that shield on Starkiller Base, which is absolutely insane. They're going faster than the speed of light here, which is over 671 million miles per hour. Han Solo basically has to pull a lever in a 10-mile window. I'm not going to even try to calculate how quickly light travels 10 miles because I'm pretty sure it's going to make my head hurt. This guy is definitely not normal. But this draw he does against Vader is actually pretty pedestrian. He has a good reaction time, but look at how Han kind of over-embellishes and almost whips his arm out like he's throwing a punch, and then he kind of fully extends his arm. Which we'll see is not a really good strategy to use when you're quick drawing against someone else. It's all about efficiency of movement here. But before we begin, a quick word from our sponsor for today, Lightsaber.com. Lightsaber.com has an excellent range of different lightsaber hilts that can be paired with either a simple RGB blade, which is durable and great for sparring and smacking into things, or more premium LED lined blades like the Xenopixel, which provides all sorts of cool light animations and sound effects. Some of the coolest designs I've seen on Lightsaber.com are the Huntsman, which is a replica of the Inquisitor's blade. While the Inquisitors weren't the most talented Force users, their lightsabers are definitely very stylish and unique. This double-ended hilt design has a folding handguard that can be opened up into a full circle guard. Lightsaber.com also features the Samurai, which are inspired by the 2 hilts wielded by Ahsoka Tano. This includes one full-size blade and a Shoto lightsaber for the offhand. What's cool about this design is the blade is off-centered from the hilt and more in line with the natural curve of the user's hand, giving them more leverage on slashes and control when thrusting. Lightsaber.com also features a Kylo Ren style crossblade and this wacky Lego brick saber. For Christmas and New Year's, Lightsaber.com is going to be giving free shipping for all of their orders. For more information on that, check out the description down below. Thank you for your patience. On to the rest of the video. Cobb Vanth looks like he came straight out of a Sergio Leone spaghetti western. He's got that lanky man walk paired with the red shirt to hide the blood he's sure to shed. In this first shootout, he literally walks into the saloon and starts a shootout against the Red Key Raiders. This one bandit tries to sidearm a blaster, but Cobb is way too quick. He draws a respectable 0.62 seconds. Notice the minimal movement from holsters to shooting position. At these ranges, speed is key, so hip shooting isn't discouraged. As a matter of fact, Cobb almost prefers to shoot from the hip, like in this scene where he draws on a bunch of pike heads. He draws a bit slower here at 0.68 seconds, but he's got a bit more distance and takes a fraction of a second more time to aim carefully. No point in drawing quick if you miss. Hunter was a mutated clone commando and one of the fastest clones around. He enjoyed throwing knives, but he was also decently fast with a blaster. That is until he came up against the bounty hunter Cad Bane. Hunter manages to get off a respectable 0.55 second draw on Cad Bane, but if you take a look at it, he fires way too quickly before his blaster is even stabilized, which is why his shot is off target. He might be faster, but I think he really sensed that Cad Bane was faster, and so he panicked a little bit, which is not something you usually see from a clone commando. Next up, we have Boba Fett, one of the deadliest warriors in the galaxy. Unfortunately, the draw we have on file here with him is post-Sarlacc pit, aka post his prime. He's a bit old and he's a bit more sluggish when he draws with Cad Bane. He's still got a surprising amount of speed though, especially if you take a look at what he's trying to sling. That's a blaster carbine rifle. Still, he gets his draw out in 0.52 seconds, but he misses his shot. Unfortunately, we never really get to see Boba Fett draw with his dad's pistols when he was in his prime. That would have been a sight to see. Now, Din Djarin came out of nowhere, but he's proven to be one of the most formidable gunslingers in the galaxy, and he repeatedly posted very respectable times when it comes to a quick draw. This first time around, Din Djarin is cornered by a bunch of bounty hunters. He draws pretty damn quick considering the situation and gets a mark of 0.41 seconds. But come on guys, someone called Child Services. The man is gunslinging with a baby go-gurt in his arm. I also want to focus on the fact that even though he fully extends his arm before firing, he does fire the second his elbow is locked out. Then we have this more traditional type of shootout without anyone holding a baby. The bounty hunter Lang tries to pull a fast one on Mando, but he's way too slow, and the Mandalorian clocks in another 0.41 seconds draw. Again, Mando extends his arm to full firing position, but he manages to get off a shot with little hesitancy. I mean, guys, we have to consider the fact that Din Djarin is wearing plate armor here, but when he gets his arm up, there's almost no pause in when he shoots, so his target acquisition time is tremendous. Next up, we have one of the most impressive shots on this list, in my opinion, and that's thanks to Greef Karga, leader of the Bounty Hunter Guild on Navarro. He has to do a quick 180 dual draw and hit two targets while trying to avoid Din Djarin and Cara Dune standing in the foreground. Not only does he succeed in doing this, he does it in a blistering 0.38 seconds. Not bad at all. Notice that when Greef Karga fires his blasters, he's firing from his hip. That's how he's getting his speed. Next up, we have a former child soldier who was aligned with the Separatist cause. We, of course, were talking about Cassian Andor. This young man was born in conflict and he would die in conflict. Such individuals have no time for honor or fair play, and so during his turbulent and short life, Cassian Andor would get quite comfortable with the smooth action of drawing his pistol and getting it on target. Andor isn't picky when it comes to blasters. He'll use whatever he's got on hand, but if he's got a special lady, it's going to be this MW-20 Briar pistol, passed down from his father Clem. At the end of the Aldhani heist, when Skeen tries to convince Andor to help him steal the tape, Cassian realizes that Skeen is too dangerous to keep alive, and so he quick draws. Cassian draws at a respectable 0.75 seconds here. He should be a bit faster here, honestly, though. He draws quickly and he's firing without fully extending his arm from his hip. But then remember in that first scene in Rogue One when he and the informant Tivik are cornered by an unsuspecting stormtrooper? Well, Cassian Andor pulls off this shot from a kneeling position. He twists his body about 90 degrees and gets off a shot in just about 0.38 seconds, the same as Greef Karga. That's just really a smooth motion right there. It should be noted that both Karga and Andor both don't wear armor and they both shoot from the hip. Cad Bane is a bad dude, and he's been in more quick draws than most of the individuals on this list, and so it's not surprising that his form and aim are impeccable. Remember that shootout with Boba Fett we just showed you guys? Well, he drew slower at around 0.72 seconds, but what matters is he stood his ground and he hit his target. Plus, he was already a pretty old guy by then, just like Boba Fett. But I guess not too old, because during that same time period, Cad Bane outdrew Cobb Vanth and his deputy with a cool 0.666 seconds. But to truly see Cad Bane shooting his best, we have to go all the way back to the Clone Wars era, almost 30 years earlier when he was still in his prime. Cad Bane would face off against the clone Commando Hunter and draw a cool 0.349 seconds. Unlike those other shots we saw, Cad Bane pulled only to the hip for speed and managed to take out this pretty fast clone. I think out of all the people on this list, Cad Bane is probably the best quick draw shooter in the galaxy. He blends nerve of steel with a quick reaction time, great technique, and very good aim. You guys probably forgot about number 1. He's actually kind of a little shit. It's Toro Calican, the Corellian bounty hunter who betrays Mando and ends up shooting Fennec Shan point blank. This almost shouldn't count as a quick draw because he's shooting a woman who's tied up, but I think that's why he's able to draw so quickly. There aren't any real consequences. This is also probably why those professional shooters we were talking about are able to get off shots in 0.17 seconds. Toro Calican against a tied up opponent who's only a few feet away from him was able to draw at a blistering fast 0.28 seconds. If only he had a chance to go up against someone who was actually able to fire back. We'll see how fast he is then. Well guys, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification button down below so you don't miss out on the rest of our awesome content. As usual, my name is Alan, reminding you that my allegiance is to the Republic, to democracy.